Do you want to worry less? Maybe you need some CBT. Find out what that means here today on Jimmy Rants. Click on that little box down there in the corner. It'll take you straight to IGTV for today's episode. JimmyRants.com is the website, and as always, you can engage live in the content. Go follow me over on Instagram. I am at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, engage live, just like Molly just popped into here. Thank you guys all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. We are here Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, so thanks for joining us for the show. We also simulcast over here on my Facebook page where Emily just said, hi, Jimmy. Hello, Emily. So thanks for watching here today. Also over on my YouTube channel, thanks to all my streamers over on the YouTube channel, and thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live here on Instagram, you can watch it on replay on IGTV. When this is over, it goes right up to IGTV, so go check that out. We also throw the past episodes up over on YouTube. If you type in a keyword Jimmy Rants, you will find the show. Then finally, you can pop on over to our official website. It's jimmyrants.com. And while you're there, see all the past episodes there. And while you're there, you can also support the show. We don't have any sponsors. The only sponsor I have is you. So if you like what I do here and you want to see me keep doing this show, go on over to jimmyrants.com. Click on the Patreon link. We got some exclusive perks just for people who support my work. And then if you want to make a one-time donation, there is a PayPal link as well. And all of that, again, you guys, is at jimmyrants.com. Okay, you guys, so I wanted to talk about a subject here today that was tremendously helpful when I learned about it in the midst of my sabbatical. So those of you that have followed my work, you know that I went away on a 6-month sabbatical starting on September the 1st. And lasted until I returned to doing what I do on March the 1st. And in that 6 months, I had a lot of things happen personally for me as it relates to my childhood trauma and some other events that happened in the midst of that. And a lot of it was emotionally distressing. It was worry-inducing. It was a lot of things. And I thankfully had the foresight to hire a life coach who happens to be a licensed therapist before I even went on the sabbatical. It was right at a year ago, right? In mid-August that I met with her for the very first time on Skype, or I forget how we communicated, but we talked on video chat. And then all throughout the sabbatical and even to this day, I had a meeting with her last week. I meet with her, and one of the things that she introduced to me that I thought was so valuable was this concept known as cognitive behavioral therapy. It's called CBT. I remember the first time she said it real fast. Yeah, you need some CBT. And I was like, I take CBD oil every day. What do you mean? No, not CBD, which is the cannabidiol oil. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and she said it's just another way to reframe things in your mind so that they're more accurate for what they are. And of course, all of us right now are going through some pretty worrisome types of things in our lives because of the world events that are happening between COVID-19 and the race relations and the presidential election and literally everything that's happening, plus whatever's happening in your own personal life. All of those things are hitting you. And unless you're just super duper dippity strong, you might be struggling. And if that's you, you're not alone. There's a lot of people who are dealing with some pretty major stuff right now. And so CBT is another one of those strategies that can help you with that. So I just happened to find an article about CBT in Inc. magazine, and they relate it to the coronavirus and everything we're going through with this. So wanted to read this to you and teach you what CBT does, how it can work. I'll give you a little bit of my experience of using these strategies when I'm done reading the article. I've got a correlated article that goes a little deeper into CBT, and we'll get to that here in just a minute. But the title of this Inc. magazine article, Feeling Worried? This 5-minute exercise invented by a psychologist will calm you down. Planning is great, but worrying gets you nowhere, so here's how to stop. Are you feeling worried? There's something you can do about it. Psychologist Kaylee Spina-Horan, a PhD, has devised a simple exercise that can help you manage worry and restore at least some sense of calm in you again. It only takes less than 5 minutes to conduct, and all you need to do is get some pen and paper. So grab some pen, a pen, grab some paper, and you can do this in real time while I'm doing Jimmy Rants. So if you got something close by, go grab it. There's a lot to be anxious about these days. More than 5.5 million Americans have had COVID-19. Unemployment is at levels not seen since the Great Depression. Untold numbers of businesses have been pushed into bankruptcy. You may be worried about the future of your own business or your own job. On top of that, the strain of maintaining social distancing, spending most of your time at home with your family and perhaps little children may be having you feeling rattled. I myself, paradoxically, find that the less I have to worry about, the more worrying I do. Anybody like that? Like if you don't have very many things to worry about in your life, does that make you worry? Isn't that ironic? After my husband had a heart attack almost 3 years ago, my worrying was singularly focused on the state of his health and my fear of losing him. I missed an important work deadline, which would normally have sent me into a panic, but that didn't bother me at all. When not faced with an immediate threat, I find I worry as much or more, but about a wider array of things. Disappointing clients. What would happen to us if I couldn't work? The wildfires going on the West Coast, which are dreadful. Hundreds of miles away from me, though. The major earthquake for which our region is way overdue now. And if all of that isn't enough, whenever I stay up too late at night or have to get up really early in the morning, I lie awake and worry about not getting enough sleep. Again, ironic, right? But while making plans for how to deal with challenges in your business or your home life is constructive, worrying will do just the opposite. It will drain your energy and damage your emotional and physical health. So, if you're just joining us, there is a method called cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, not to be confused with CBD, the oil that smells like funky grass when you put it in your mouth. CBT and CBD combined would be a nice little 1-2 punch to help you not worry. But CBT is what we're talking about here today. It will zap worry out of your life. And it's a lesson that I learned in the midst of my 6-month sabbatical. It was right around November that my life coach taught me this. And it was a real game changer. And I hope it's a game changer for a lot of you guys who might be under the stress of what's happening right now in our world. But while making plans for how to deal with the challenges in your business or home life is constructive, worrying will drain you. So cognitive behavioral therapy is brilliant because it's simple and it's surprisingly effective. So in this story, they said that she goes into a full post about it at Psychology Today. So I went and found that full post from this Miss Horan because I thought this was just fantastic information. All right. So let's skip to the part where she goes into what CBT is. So she did note J.K. Rowling once said, worrying means you suffer twice. That's true. Because when you worry, you're not only dealing with whatever it is that made you worry, but then you're worried, which makes you suffer again. So never thought about it that way, but J.K. Rowling is dead right. All right, so let's get into cognitive behavioral therapy. If this is a brand new concept to you, please write this down. Please send this video to whoever you know in your life worries, because this could be a life changer. There are a lot of really good therapists that are using this very strategy with their clients to help them overcome the worry, the anxiousness, the concern. This is really good stuff, you guys. So you guys ready? We're going to go through this pretty slow so that you can get it and grasp it. Go ahead and get a pen and a piece of paper, and you can do this in real time. And think about something right now that you are worried about. Anything. It could be literally anything. Losing your job, losing your home, not bringing home an income. What if I get coronavirus? Whatever the thing is that you're worried about right this moment, keep that top of mind. Get the pen and paper ready. In fact, I would say go ahead and write down whatever it is that you're worried about. And we're going to apply cognitive behavioral therapy to that. So the first step in this, CBT, is identify the trigger or the situation. What's the thought that's causing the emotional and physical reaction? So when you think about something and you start to worry, the worry doesn't just come on. It came on because you were triggered. So find out what the trigger is. Was there something that happened in your life? Was there news that happened? Think about what it was that caused that reaction. Here's a hint. Some of the most common culprits of worry are the what ifs. Oh my gosh. If we could get rid of the what ifs in our mind, you know how much calmer all of us would be? The problem is the way most of our minds work is on the what if proposition. Because when we say what if, it becomes what in our minds, right? When you go down that pathway of what could be, it ends up being what is in your mind. Even if it never happens, it becomes that very thing. Trust me, I know, I've done that many a time. What if school doesn't start back? What if the kids don't get back into their normal routine again? What if they have to wear a mask for the next 3 years? What if? And all these things flood your brain. That could be the trigger or the situation that begins your worry. What if I get sick from COVID-19? Oh my gosh, what would I do? What would happen if I had to go in the hospital? Oh my gosh. And so, what if? What if someone in my family gets it? What if I lose my job? What if I have a panic attack? And what if I fail? So these are all the triggers. And if you're just joining us, yes, we're talking about how you deal with worry and can literally zap it out of your life, or at least make it so insignificant that it doesn't overwhelm you. Because I have a feeling right now, most people are completely overwhelmed by fear and worry. And if that's you, you need a whole lot of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and we're talking about that here today on Jimmy Rants. So, number one, identify that trigger or the situation. Number two, whatever that worry that you have right now, you're thinking about it. Think about that issue, that idea. It might be multiple ones, but just think about it in general. Now, number two, rate the intensity of your worry on a scale of 1 to 100. Now that you've successfully identified the thought that sent your central nervous system into a frenzy, it's time to rate the intensity of the emotion. And it could be an 85 out of 100. It might be 100 out of 100. Some people might say it's a million out of 100. Figure out what the intensity is of that worry, okay? Again, this is subjective. There's no right or wrong answer to this, but what is your perception, which is what this is. In the end, you're going to find out what you're doing when you worry is you have a perception of how things are going, and now you're assigning a number based on that perception, okay? So that's number two, rate the intensity of the worry. So identify the trigger or situation, rate the intensity of your worry. Number three, write down, and this is where you can start writing on your piece of paper, unhelpful thoughts and images associated with the worry. Oftentimes, I find those of us who struggle with anxiety and worry have exceptionally active imaginations. Boy, oh boy, is that true. Think about people that worry, and if you're one of those people, think about how your mind goes wild. Why do we always jump to worst case scenario too? Think about that. Like, I guess it's human nature to, oh my gosh, it's going to possibly do this. And I'm like, Yeah, but it could just be this. Like, it doesn't have to be this worst case scenario. But where's our brain go? Right to the worst case scenario. Why? Because it's a possibility. And what cognitive behavioral therapy is trying to get you to do is, all right, write down what you think the worst, most unhelpful thoughts and images are. We immediately see in our mind's eye all of those worst case scenarios playing out right before our eyes. And what that does is it activates instantly our fight or flight system. So take a minute, write down what you think is going to happen as a result of you while you're worrying. This could include your reaction. It could include other people's reactions, what they'll say, what you'll do, so forth and so on. Okay, so that's number 3. Write down the unhelpful thoughts and images associated with the worry. You guys still with me? This is powerful because we're getting to the part of CBT that I think is going to be the game changer and switch it in your brain. So identify the trigger or situation that's making you worry, rate the intensity of that worry, write down anything that's unhelpful as a thought or image that's associated with the worry. Number 4, examine the evidence that supports the worry thought. So whatever you're worried about, what is true? What do you know is true? What do you have in your mind that supports this notion that what you're worried about is accurate? Okay? Yes, you read that correctly. I want you to find any factual support that will validate the worrisome thought. Bear with me, I know that seems very counterproductive, but this will give you the opportunity to step back, take inventory of just how true and realistic this is. When you do this, sometimes you do this and you go, I don't have any evidence. And therein kills the worry. Because if there's no evidence to support your worry, why are you worrying? Right? It's a very interesting thing when you try to seek out evidence for why the worry is there. And you can't find it. Now, maybe you do find it and you write those things down, whatever the evidence is. Number 5, examine the evidence against the worry. That's the next one. So number 4, you look at the evidence for worrying about whatever it is you're worrying about. Number 5, examine the evidence against the worrisome thought. Here's where we start acting like detectives. This is where the good stuff comes in, guys. Just as a detective would look for facts, not opinions, we need to do the same thing. Can I tell you how hard that is in today's society? People like to share opinions and they don't back it up. They just spouting whatever comes out of their mouth. And yet if you step back and you look at actual facts, you get to the nitty-gritty of what you're worrying about. What facts show that this worry thought is not true? Like, you really have to make your mind think about, why is what I'm worried about not true? Ask yourself, has this fear ever actually happened to you before? And if it has, how many times has it happened? You may just discover that it's not only happened once in the entirety of your life, or not at all. Think about how many people right now are so worried of getting COVID-19 because they think all the worst case scenario is going to happen to them with this virus. What's the evidence that it's going to do that? You haven't had it before. You don't have an illness now. It kind of makes you like go there in your mind. It's often helpful to provide yourself with examples of when you've been successful in accomplishing the thing you're worried about in the past. Now, it doesn't apply to this case, but that's a good part as well. It's also beneficial, listen to this, guys, to rate the likelihood of whatever it is you're worrying about happening from a scale of 0 to 100 to help dispute the negative automatic worry thought. This is what I think a lot of people miss. They start worrying and then they don't know why they're worrying. They don't know what percentage of whatever they're worried about of it actually happening. I remember growing up, Mom used to tell me that about 90-something% of what you worry about actually never comes to fruition. She was so wise. Even the Bible talks about take no thought for the things of tomorrow because tomorrow is going to take care of itself. You got enough worry today. And yet people are always worried about tomorrow. And sometimes when you let that worry overtake you, sometimes the worry becomes a beast in and of itself, and it becomes this thing much bigger than what the actual original worry was all about. But we let our brains go down that really deep, dark path of ugliness, and it manifests as this really overwhelming sensation in our bodies. And it's hard to come back from that. That's what CBT is designed to do, is to keep you from going down that deep, dark path and pull you out before you fall into the hole. All right, so identify the trigger, number 1. Number 2, rate the intensity of the worry on a scale of 1 to 100. Number 3, write down unhelpful thoughts and images associated with the worry. Number 4, examine the evidence that supports the worry. Number 5, examine the evidence against the worry. Number 6, insert more realistic, balanced thinking. So instead of entertaining the worst case scenario that's taking place in your mind, start thinking about what you would tell a loved one or a friend who is worrying about the same thing. Ooh. So if this thing you're worried about wasn't happening to you, and instead was happening to a really good friend or family member, and they called you for advice on what to do about that thing, that's an interesting mind experiment. This is where you use compassion to combat the catastrophe. Like that is such like a mind bend that you don't even realize if you were consulting yourself on what to do about this situation that you're worried about, and you had no worry yourself about it, but you're just looking at it objectively. How would you help? How likely is it that something positive is going to occur instead? Have I had positive experiences with this situation, this person, this event in the past? One question I personally love asking is, in the spectrum of my life, how important is this question and situation right now? Ooh. Sometimes there are worry warts in your life that they worry about literally every little thing. Life is not meant to worry. There are things that can worry you legitimately, but most of the things that people let themselves get worried about, they shouldn't. Just shouldn't. Is the amount of energy I'm putting into worrying about this situation proportionate to its importance? Oh, like think about the things you worry about just from a comical perspective. What about the wives that don't like that their husbands leave the toilet seat up? And so they let it eat them alive. Oh my God, it just like eats them up. And at the end of the day, is it really that important? No. And so if it's not, recalibrate is what this CBT is saying. So that was number 6. Number 7, after you do all of those things of identifying the trigger or situation that's making you worry, rate the intensity of your worry to 1 to 100. Write down unhelpful thoughts and images associated with the worry. Number 4, examine the evidence that supports the worry. Number 5, examine the evidence against the worry. Number 6, insert realistic balance thinking as if you're giving advice to a friend or family member. The last one, you guys, number 7. Remember you rated the worry earlier? Now they ask you to re-rate the intensity of anxiety and worry. By this point, most will experience a significant reduction in the amount of anxiety, and the evidence of that will be quantified in whatever you write down right here. This alone can give us the incentive to start challenging all of those negative automatic thoughts instead of mindlessly believing them. Remember, if this exercise didn't work for you, don't judge yourself. It will only intensify the anxiety. Sometimes you get so entrenched in worry, it's really hard to think of any alternative possibility. And that's true. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of people, they make it a national pastime to worry, and worry some more. If that's you and you know that's your natural inclination is to worry about things, you know you have the power to change that, like right now, right? Like I realize it some people say, well, it's just a part of who I am. Okay, fair enough, but you can change that part of who you are if it's self-destructive. You know, some people might say, well, it's a part of who I am just to be a drunk every night. You can do that, sure. You can go drink to your heart's content. Is it self-destructive? You bet it is. Can you change it? You bet you can. And so the same with your emotional response. If you're one of those who are primed to worry about this and that and everything in between, maybe it's time to use 2020 to reassess that mentality and realize it's not serving you any good purpose. Grab a loved one or a friend, go through the thought and record it together. It may help to get another person's perspective, especially if you respect their opinion. So that is CBT, you guys. And I thought it was really worth going over and talking about. Let's see if this other article had anything else. Psychological research shows that cognitive behavioral therapy exercises like the one I just described can reduce worrying for just about everyone who follows it. So if this approach did not work for you, keep trying other ones. The fact is, we don't need to let our worries grow so large that they control us. We can do something to cut them down to size. For me, just knowing that's true makes life seem a lot less worrisome. So let me tell you what happened for me. So I went through my sabbatical. Again, I was gone September through the beginning of March. And midway through, I was struggling really hard with a lot of things worrisome related to my childhood trauma and some personal issues that I'm going through in my life, even still to this day. And so when my life coach, who is a licensed therapist, told me about CBT, it was amazing. As she kind of walked me through these steps, I went, oh, it's a 90 something. I forget whatever it was I was worried about at the time, and rated it 90. Okay. All right. So what's the evidence for it? Well, this, and this. And then she's like, what's the evidence against it? And I went, well, there is this, and then there's this, da. And then you can even as we were talking, I was feeling stress and worry come off my body. And it's amazing when you stop, assess, analyze, and really take a closer look at things like what you're worrying about, how much of it is self-induced. Like, you allow your brain to go there. You allow yourself to go down that path. And again, different personalities handle this different ways. There's some people, they don't even open themselves up at all, and so they never worry about anything seemingly on the outside, but inside they're eating themselves up. Whereas you've got other people that wear their emotions on their sleeve, and every little thing is a worry. Oh my gosh, what about this? Oh my gosh, what about this? And it just becomes this constantness of worry. Most of us live in the in-between of those two extremes, but most of us have a propensity to worry, and that worry at a very deep level, quite a bit in our lives. And this one thing, you guys, has been so helpful to me. And even recently, I've had some situations come up where the worry bug was starting to slip back in. And this is the thing. This doesn't cure you of worry. It just gives you an ability to deal with those situations as they come up. Doesn't mean they won't come up. You would not be a human being if you didn't have worry from time to time. But when you worry, before you let it go down a destructive path, causing your central nervous system to go haywire, just think and go through all these steps. They're there for a reason, you guys, and they're there and they're powerful. The first time I ever saw these steps, I was just blown away at the simplicity. And once you get this, and once you realize it's not as hard as you think it is, it can definitely help you with your own worry. I've never sneezed on Jimmy Rant, so that was the first. I don't know why I sneezed, but there it is. Probably you stupid cats. That's what it is. Am I worried about you cats? Let's see. What's the evidence for that worry? Well, you are furry little animals that throw hair up in the air, that make allergens go haywire on Jimmy Rant Studio. What's the evidence against it? Well, you're so freaking cute. I can't get rid of you, and I've taken care of you this long. Yeah, I think I'll stop worrying about you. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. We're going to come here first to Instagram, then over to Facebook, finally over to YouTube. Thank you all for being here today. JimmyRants.com is the website. See what you have to say about this one. And nobody has anything on Instagram. Was this a confounding topic today, Instagram? Give me some comments, some questions. Have you tried CBT? Is this intriguing to you? What's most intriguing about it? Go. I want to see your comments here in just a second. All right, let's come over here to my Facebook page. What's up, Facebook? See what you have to say on this one. Tara, my friend Tara says, I've learned that anxiety is my intuition. If I ignore it, I get absolutely blindsided. Of course, I am a trauma victim, and so CBT isn't appropriate for me. That's true. And thank you, Tara, for bringing that up. And she's had some pretty intense trauma on a variety of angles. I know Tara personally, and so you're right. From your perspective, Tara, it probably is an ineffective strategy. But thank you for bringing up that there is anxiety there for a reason for a lot of people, and you pay attention to your own emotional cues, your own physical cues, and it can be a protective measure. I think where it goes over the edge is where people allow it to overwhelm them and they succumb to the ramifications of that excessive worry, especially if it's on a basically all the time happening. The sympathetic nervous system can't handle that kind of constant barrage of emotional turmoil, because you will break physically and emotionally. People forget about the physical effects of worry. They know about the emotional ones, maybe the psychological ones, but it's those physical effects that hit the body. They can increase inflammation levels, increase blood pressure, make you more susceptible to disease formation, including autoimmune diseases and really any chronic disease out there, heart disease, all of it. So, but thank you for sharing your experience, Tara. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Facebook. Let's pop over here now to my YouTube channel. What's up, YouTube? Shirley says, I can think of a few people in my life who could use this. Yeah, CBT is so powerful, guys. Go look up cognitive behavioral therapy online. How do we look into getting this done? Not sure if you said the kids need help with school. You can do it at home. I would recommend, though, that you do it in conjunction with a licensed therapist. But what I just went over here today, Shirley, that is CBT. So it's something you can do yourself in 5 minutes or less. Basically, you write down what the worry is. You list down what the worry is on a scale of 1 to 100. Then you write down all the evidence in favor and in support of why you should be worried, all the evidence of why you should not be worried. Then act like you are the friend of someone consulting someone who has these worries. What would you say to them? And then at the end of that reframing of everything, rate it again. And almost invariably, everybody's number comes down from that original number once you kind of do this exercise. It takes a little bit of like mind work to kind of work through these things. But once you do this, this is so powerful. Like, I feel for people right now going through COVID-19, going through the race relation stuff, going through the ill behavior happening on social media, going through all the stresses that life is throwing at us right now. And they have no outlet for getting rid of that worry. Hopefully today's Jimmy Rants has given you an outlet, at least a method for trying. This won't work with everybody. As Tara said, it won't work with her because she's been through some pretty traumatic things in her life. Really, like Tara, you're one of the people, I've never heard of people that have gone through as much as you have in your life with all the health things, with all the domestic issues, all the things you've had to deal with and you're still dealing with even to this day. So it's nothing to play around with. But if you have worry and you've always said, I wish I could do something about this, there is something. Cognitive behavioral therapy could be a key in helping you overcome some of that worry. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. And as always, you can engage live in the content. Go follow me right here on Instagram. I'm at Living Low Carb Man, LivinLowCarbMan. Once you're there, engage live. You can join us here Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We also simulcast over here on my Facebook page as well as over on my YouTube channel. So thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay here on IGTV. We also put the past episodes up over on YouTube. Type in a keyword Jimmy Rants. You will find the show. Finally, pop on over to JimmyRants.com. It's the official website for this show. You can see all the past episodes there. And if you like what I do you like me? Do you like the things I share here? Is this good information? I really need your help, you guys. If you like what I do, I'm not having any sponsors right now. So anything you can do to support my work would be greatly appreciated. Over at JimmyRants.com, click on the Patreon link or the PayPal link, and a donation of any amount would be greatly appreciated. All right, guys, that's it for now. We'll see you again soon on Jimmy Rants. Bye.